Hey, this is just Bill from RockninBoston. I'm actually with Gene Dante and one of my favorite bartenders of all time here. We're here to do an interview with this wonderful person, but we should interview him. Yeah. No, not tonight. Not tonight. Okay. All right. So anyways, this is Bill from everyone here. You are on RockninBoston. 1, 2, 3. You're on RockninBoston.
The shirt is too good, and you look too good in it to have a messed up color. There you go. There you go.
Hey, we are. This is just Bill from RockninBoston. I'm actually here with Gene Dante, and I got my notes here with this machine that always likes to delete my stuff. Maybe you didn't do it. No, it didn't. All right, so here we are. I only have one drink a night, but I love my martinis.
And Rob really knows how to make them.
Rob is one of my favorite bartenders in town, along with Peter. Peter Cipriani.
Oh, I got a bunch of faves, but Rob Mankey's always just a pure pro.
For me, I really
Rob Botello, also pro, and the entire staff of Man Ray. Terry, my love.
Yes. For me, I don't like getting drunk, but I like the chemistry of making a really good drink, and the thing is about alcohol, it's like after this second drink, you might as well be drinking piss water because you can't taste anything anyways. And then you basically at that point you're there to get drunk. I don't like getting drunk, and that's the end of my night. So I have one nice drink here, and then take another sip.
That's right. Let's have another sip. After a certain age, it's not cute. What's that line?
After a certain age of 40, and everything goes downhill.
Well, in Mommy Dearest, when the guy says to her, he goes, "You're drunk, Joan. When you were young, it made you look sexy. But now, it just makes you look drunk."
Okay, we're going to get started with the interview here. So, I was requested by many people to make longer interviews. So I'm actually having a lot of fun doing this. So Gene, I first met you in 2000.
Yes.
You were at, I think it was at...
That's wow. We were 5.
No, I was 30. We're not going to say how old I am now. You were, I think it was a Boston Rock Hopper doing Beatles.
Oh yeah, I think that was.
And you had Izzy, the bass player to Count Zero, was part of it. It was so long ago. The details, it's like it was so.
I'm trying to think of the first Boston Rock Opera for me was '97. But I think they did some other shows later. I'm trying to think of what ones I did when I came back from Europe. SF Sorrow was one of them.
So let's talk about the Boston Rock Opera a little bit, because Boston Rock Opera at the time was really great resources for local bands. So you remember Danon?
Yeah, Danon.
Danon came from Boston Rock Opera. One of the best guitarists I've ever known. I know a lot of great guitarists, but Danon's one of them. So Boston Rock Opera was actually where we would, like, what do you call that?
Well, it was kind of like a hub or like a social group, like a community. You know, people found each other there. People who were interested in whatever music they were covering, but then also people who were fans of that music or fans of this or what they were doing, which was trying to fuse music and theater, but not be musical theater. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Exactly. And when you take someone like Danon, who's actually working really hard to be in this position, and he's dropped in a band like The Luxury or whatever Jason Dunn's band was at the time. You basically plug in like all this experience is in your band instantly, and that's what happened to Bach. I mean, it's not around anymore, is it?
They've made some scant appearances, but they don't have a regular schedule anymore.
Yeah, they used to have.
I think it's slowed down a lot. I don't think it's totally gone, but it's been a bit since they've done something. Like they would every couple of years decide to launch something. I have no idea the status now, but
it was definitely a great resource back then. Every time I turned around, a band was. They were doing all right, and all of a sudden they grab a musician from the Boston Rock Opera, and all of a sudden, bam! They go from a grade 3 band, actually grade bands, by the way, which I don't tell bands who they are. And Gene Dante's band is a grade 1 band. So isn't Sidewalk Driver. I'm not going to say any more from that. But you see a band go from a grade 3 to grade 2 instantly when you add that element.
Well,
because suddenly you have someone with so much more experience in taking on whatever you call it.
Well, theater, it's very similar to a rock show, except that a lot of rockers just think, oh, I just get up and do my thing and that's it, and I don't think about it. But theater teaches you to think about it in advance. So when you're up there, you're actually much more free because you have certain things to rely on.
Right.
Because you plan certain things out. No, it's not. We're going to take 4 steps, and it's not a dance choreo. But you know what I mean. Like just you're witness to the production factor of it, and the why you need to be at certain rehearsals, and why you need to do this, and why people are counting on you. Versus so it's not just all about one person, it's about everybody. And it really, I think, was a good experience for a lot of musicians to just see how to
and
work
if I
like
was
a
actually,
team.
I was a musician, I had a band myself called the Micronauts. We lasted like 6 months. But if I stepped from there into the rock opera, I wouldn't be doing this today, honestly. I'd be doing something else, I think. Anyways, we're going to move on from I want to talk about your creativity growing up. Your experience as an artist. Did you want to become an actor first? Let's talk about from your childhood into.
Well, I guess. I never ever thought I'd be like a musician, but I was always fascinated. I always say this. My first 2 records were like LPs, right? You know, big vinyl. For anyone who doesn't know what that means, and were Queen, News of the World, and Kiss, Alive 2. My aunt, who was only like 5 years older than me, had like given them to me, and I had never seen anything like it before. I mean, I think my parents had like Doobie Brothers records and Ike and Tina Turner, which I thought were great, but like these things were suddenly like, obviously Queen's very theatrical. Mm-hmm. Kiss is kabuki with, it's like, what did, I think John I said, at the beginning they were like America's Black Sabbath, but they added kabuki theater to it, and I was like, that's kind of great. And to me, I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, this is, because, you know,
really quickly, Gene Simmons had to put on makeup because he was fucking ugly. Okay.
I'm not gonna judge anyone's. I have no place to judge anyone's appearance. At 7 years old, if you're standing, you're doing great, as far as I'm concerned. I was always fascinated by it, and I thought that's what rock and roll should be, is something that was heightened like that. I kind of always, every little kid fantasizes, you know, take a tennis racket or whatever, and you like pretend you're a guitar, right? Mm-hmm. So I learned, you know, I picked up guitar at 15 years old, and I didn't even want an acoustic guitar. I tried to take piano lessons, and after 2 weeks, I was like, this is so uncool, and what a mistake I made, right? Because now I wish I could play the piano the way, like my Sarah
That was
Wendell,
actually my first instrument.
An excellent drummer.
So that's where you got started, you know.
I'd say, but in junior high, like, or whatever, like middle school, like somebody asked me what I wanted to be, and I was like, I think I want to be an actor. And like, even though but I hadn't picked up a guitar yet, and I just thought, as a kid, I was like, I could probably do that. Like, I could, you know, maybe, I don't know, I had no right to think I could do it. I'd never taken an acting class in my life, but I just thought it would be cool, like, to be other people or convince an audience that I was someone else. And so that always fascinated me. But then, of course, those records were always stuck with me. I wanted to play guitar. I listened to it, and I never, you know what? I wanted to be Johnny Ramone or Joan Jett. I never fantasized being a lead guitar player. I always fantasized of being the guy that they could count on to be like on the beat. I call it holding the fort down, and that's the kind of guitar playing I wanted to do, because I never saw myself, because I would read about guitar players and like, oh, well, I studied, you know, blah, 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 6 hours a day, and, you know, I never saw my friends, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I could do that, but I could be the guy that's behind that guy, and that's what I always thought I was going to be, is like the person in the band that was sort of behind, and maybe I would write the songs, like maybe something would happen in my 15-year-old life that would make me want to write about it. Nothing had happened at that point.
So let's get on my questions, which I made up today.
I mean, we'll edit this at some point. You will, right?
This is fantastic so far.
Right.
So one thing I want to do is with these interviews, the fact that is, as I was told through by my friends in the music industry in Boston right now, it's like we need longer interviews, but I also want to get to know the people. And one of the things we have
Careful what you wish for.
Well, one of the things we have is we have this beautiful thing called the Boston music scene. You all know this. And some people cringe, Boston music scene. But hey, think about this. It's a social art and music community that's lasted over hundreds of years, over 100 years easy. For instance, my grandmother lived on Beacon Hill when it was like Mission Hill in the 90s.
Right.
And she used to go down the hill to Scully Square to the jazz clubs, which was a Boston music scene in 1920.
Rick Tinnery, remember Old Scully Square?
And so we're in a community that's been around for well over 100 years, and also I talk to people in the Brooklyn music scene, and that's just as long. I find it fascinating. And anyone in these art social communities, it's freaking huge. For instance, the late 90s, we had the Ghosts of Tony Gold and all those guys.
Oh, yeah.
That whole scene. They did a reunion 2 years ago, which was fantastic, where they had multiple bands reunion from the same era.
Oh, pretty cool.
And it was like I totally walked into 1999.
Nice.
And so, but all these people flew from around the world to come to the one show in Middle East upstairs to do this. And I kept my camera rolling the whole time because all I was catching was people hugging each other. And dude, people hugging each other.
No, that's beautiful.
See it on the camera?
That's beautiful.
It's a beautiful thing. So, leaving high school, what was that like? What was your direction?
When I left high school, I had no direction. I felt,
Like me?
Yeah, I felt like
I had no clue, but I was making a ton of money.
I was happy it was over. Like, I know that's awful to say, but like I didn't have a good time in school, and all I wanted was to get out. You know, all my heroes were not in school or left early or got GEDs or whatever, and I was like, well, can't I just get a GED? Every state school has to take you. I was like, UMass has to consider your application with a GED. They have to equivocate that with a high school diploma. So I was like, what do I lose? And idiot who knows everything, of course, a teenage boy doesn't need, right? So whatever. Wrong decision. So I worked retail. That's where I met Valerie. We both worked around the Burlington
So you
Mall.
worked in Newberry Comics?
Actually, I worked at American Eagle Outfitters.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that
If you
place.
can believe it, I was the only one with long black hair.
So what part
working,
of what was she involved in? That?
She was in Newbury Comics in the Burlington Mall area. There's like a strip mall right outside of the Burlington Mall. So I'm in the mall, she's there, and we had met. We'd gone to parties together, and I just always, that's how I knew her. Like I knew her from there. Of course, you know, she became who she is, and I was always a fan and a friend and all that. And I'm still as tight as hell with her.
One thing I'm actually fascinated with you is your theater work.
Okay.
And one thing I want to do is when I interview bands is the fact that one thing about the Boston music scene is a friend of mine said earlier is she's completely right. Okay. Is we know a ton of people in the Boston music scene. We know zero people at all at the same time.
How's that?
I'm actually getting to know you.
Get that?
I'm getting to know you very well now, even though I've known you since 2000, 26 years ago. By sitting down here and having this nice conversation with you.
Well, I think that that level is showbiz friends.
Yes.
And it can be like, I had a great DJ that once told me, he goes, look, we don't have real friends. We have showbiz friends.
Yes.
And I was like, oh yeah, you're right. Like we're friends. We are friends, meaning no one's gunning for anyone, but we maybe don't dive deeper to the actual core friend thing. And I get that. Look, everyone is their own planet, right? There's the surface, there's the mantle, the crust, and the core, right?
Mm-hmm.
And who's at what level. And you're right, there's a lot, but the bigger the market, the more that exasperates. Like the more that's outlined. Like who is if I had a hit album one year and you had a hit album one year and we were both at the Grammys, we would be friends. Do I know anything about you and what
Zero. Let's move on to
what's next?
What I want to talk about is like your experience in the 90s.
Oh,
before the Project Emo.
Okay, so I was in a band called Jet Velvet Trash, which I set out. I was in two bands actually. There was one called Jet Velvet Trash, where I was still trying to carry over this kind of Rocky Horror thing that I'd done. I'd played Frankenfurter at the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yes, I have a list of things that you've been in.
God,
Angry
crazy.
Inch,
Well, that's actually legit.
That's later on.
This was like in front of the movie, and because I didn't know what I was doing, but when I joined the Harvard Square Rocky Horror thing, I was like, if I can do that, if I can get up in front of an audience in women's underwear and goth makeup, I can do anything. So I wanted to do it, right? I was like, because everything else will seem easy and almost kind of mundane.
So simple.
I did it so I would get over it, and then what happens to everyone who plays that character, you suddenly start to think you are that character, and I had to get the fuck, after a year, I was like, I had to go away. So I left, I started bands, which is what I really wanted to do, and I was like, well, maybe I can give some of that, and it turned into this kind of like pop metal thing, and it wasn't what I wanted, and then I formed another band, and it was called Bound for Venus. Oh, Charlie.
We have some olives. A friend of mine from 1991 loved to have 6 olives, but he's got 3.
I write. Must have had music lessons. I don't know. Anyway, so I formed this new band, Bound for Venus. I was like, it's going to be like borderline this. I set out to be Brian Eno. I ended up being this kind of rainbow Paul Stanley thing, and I was like, this isn't what I want to do either. By the end of it, I was being told what style the band was, and I was like, I wrote a song, and they're like, that's not our style. I was like, our style? I was like, wait, I'm doing everything to this band. So I finally said, you know what? It's time to be me. It's time to be me, and at the same time, I had moved. After Bound for Venus, we did Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
Yes.
The old Institute for Contemporary Art, Lisa Boucher Hartman, who is the sister from another mister that I have. We have been friends. I will say this: no, after Bound for Venus, before Bound for Venus, I had toured in Rocky Horror in Europe.
Oh, I didn't know that. That sounds a lot of fun.
Without the movie,
that sounds
Broadway
like a lot of fun.
tour. I went to New York. I auditioned at an open call. I waited hours. I got a call back, and then I thought I was going to get Frankenfurter because my ego was that fucking crazy, and I'm like thinking, clearly, it's me. No, I got in as one of the Phantoms, which is the Transylvanians, and then 2 months in, I was the Riff Raff understudy. The Riff Raff disappeared. He fucking vanished, and I got his role, and they let me keep it because they knew how hard I was working. And I appreciate our guy who played Frank is this guy named Bradley Dean, who's on Broadway right at this minute in Chess, and he is an absolute total Broadway professional, musical theater like God. This guy is amazing, and he believed in me, and he said, give this guy the part along with the tour manager. So I got to keep this part, and shit, like, it made me feel like maybe there would be people that would be on my side. And he's still a mentor, he's still a big brother to me, and he's amazing in Chess, so go see Chess. So I came back from that, and Lisa was still my friend, so we did Hedwig together. We said, we wanted to do a show together, and of course, Hedwig seemed to be obvious because, okay, I would do a drag character, and Lisa would do a male drag king character, and we produced it together at the old ICA, which is on Boylston, where Dylan's is. You know where that is, right near Berkeley. The fire station. Well, there's a lecture hall in the basement, and we use a lecture hall. We decked it out like CBGB's, thanks to Mike Messer, our director, who, when we rehearsed in my rehearsal room, we had all these posters every which way to Sunday, and he goes, can we just take everything down here and move it and make the room like an installation piece? And he goes, bring all your naked Barbies, everything you've done, and we did this, and this was after Bound for Venus, and we had all these crazy like props, and that was just basically, we ripped everything off our rehearsal room and put it in the club, and we added other stuff. So it looked like you were in CBGB's if they had installed raked movie style seats. Mm-hmm. And that's what we wanted. And the ICA, I'm sure they simultaneously loved and hated it, but
that's always the case.
But we sold out an entire month of October in 2002. Axis took it in 2003. That was a mixed event. We were all going through a lot of shit, but we did that. What was next for theater? We did. The next thing I would write. Lisa and I wrote a one-man show about Paul Lynde. They're called God Save the Queen. Paul Lynde, 79. It was about the year he quit Hollywood Squares. Like, why did he quit Hollywood Squares? Why did he go back?